Republicans and independents. We mentioned that the House is not meeting today, but one member of Congress who was kind enough to stick around to chat with us this morning and chat with you, Tim Kennedy, Democrat from New York, member of the Homeland Security and Veteran Affairs Committee. Congressman Kennedy, thanks so much for sticking around. We've been talking about the vote-a-rama last night. It was about this immigration funding bill. So much debate about reform and funding the Department of Homeland Security. I want to start with a specific reform that you've been pushing for at DHS, and it's stemming from an incident involving a man in Buffalo where you are, Nurul Amin Shah Alam. Remind viewers who he was.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to be with you this morning. Nurul Amin Shah Alam was a man who came to our country legally. He was here amid as a refugee, and he had left oppression and war in his homeland, and he came to Buffalo, New York, a refugee community somewhere, a community on the border of Canada that is the city of good neighbors. We welcome people from all over the globe to be a part of the American dream and the fabric of our community in the future. And Nurul Amin Shah Alam was picked up by DHS and found that he was here legally. And instead of notifying his family that was waiting for him, instead of notifying his lawyer that was looking for him, they dropped him off in a cold winter's night in February in a dark parking lot of a closed restaurant, a closed coffee shop, without any clothing for the inclement weather. And he was found 5 days later dead. Nurul Amin Shah Alam's death was ruled a homicide. We have been reaching out to the Department of Homeland Security for answers about his death. They have ignored us. They've ignored the American people. This was national and international news. Another death attributed to complete and utter incompetence at the Department of Homeland Security. I have a bill, the DHS Notification Transparency Act, that will resolve this moving forward. Anyone detained by DHS will have the opportunity to have a contact put in touch with when they are released. So we know, and the lawyers of the family have told us, that if this bill was in place, Nurul Amin Shah Alam would be alive today and be with his family today. But sadly, it wasn't, and sadly he's gone. So we're not going to stop until we have justice for the family of Nurul Amin Shah Alam. We have accountability at DHS. We're looking for answers. We're looking for an investigation, and we're hopeful that we'll get those answers.
And that DHS Transparency Act, not a part of the debate last night that produced this $70 billion package that's going to be voted on in the House. We're expecting on Monday. What are your expectations for what happens on Monday in the House? Is the House going to pass the legislation that the Senate spent all night working on last night?
Well, once again, congressional Republicans have demonstrated that they just don't care about the American people. They are funneling tens of billions of dollars more into ICE, an out-of-control, unaccountable agency that has killed American citizens in the street and terrorized other communities across this nation. And while they've been made full through the big ugly bill last July, H.R. 1, and have tens of billions of dollars already to spend, there's been zero accountability, and now they're getting tens of billions of dollars more while the American people are struggling. The cost of groceries are skyrocketing. The cost of gas at the pump is upwards of $5, and in some cases upwards of $6 across the nation. And healthcare costs are going up. Transportation costs are going up. The cost to pay the bills, to keep food on the table, and to take care of one's family across the nation have skyrocketed. And in the meantime, the congressional Republicans continue to turn a blind eye to the American people and continue to carry out Donald Trump's attack on the electorate and the citizens of this country by funneling tens of billions of dollars into ICE without any accountability and any transparency.
On the Homeland Security Committee, which you're a part of, I know you deal with a lot of intelligence issues. What was your reaction to the idea of Bill Pulte as Director of National Intelligence, whether it be on a temporary basis or full-time?
Everyone should be afraid. You know, Bill Pulte being made Director of National Intelligence makes our country less safe. He is wholly unqualified. The only qualification he has is that he is a Donald Trump loyalist. And he has zero experience in national intelligence. And at a time when we are waging a war of choice overseas, at a time where national security threats are at an all-time high, we're putting in, the president puts in place an acting director of national intelligence with zero experience. It is not only alarming, it's petrifying. And so I am calling on the Senate to not only denounce this nomination, but to make sure that it doesn't happen. It does not go through, and he's not made permanent director. It would be bad for the American people. It would be bad for the safety of our communities across this nation, especially as we're celebrating America 250 with celebrations going on across the country. And we have the Olympics that we're planning for, and we have the World Cup that we're planning for in 11 different cities across this nation. We need a director of national intelligence with experience that knows how to protect the homeland, and Bill Pulte is not that person. He has zero experience, and he has to be rejected.
You mentioned the 250th anniversary of this country. Do you know at this point what you're going to be doing for July 4th? There's a lot happening here in D.C., some controversy over the 250 celebration here on the Mall. Where will you be?
Well, I'm going to be celebrating with my family. I'm going to leave that one up to my wife. It's always a great celebration on July 4th. I will be with my wife and 3 children, whether that's up in Buffalo, Niagara region in Western New York, because there's going to be so much going on, so many celebrations in the Western New York community, or we're going to be down here in Washington, D.C. That's yet to be determined.
And then one more, and I know we only have a few minutes with you, but on a sadder note, we just passed the 4th anniversary of the Tops supermarket shooting, 10 people in Buffalo killed in that shooting. How much progress has Congress made on gun violence in the 4 years since that shooting and preventing gun violence in this country?
Zero. The fact of the matter is that the congressional Republicans have put their head in the sand, and it's continued under this president. People are being killed in the streets every single day. We are seeing a rise in white nationalism across this country. We are seeing a rise in domestic terrorism across this country. Attacks at our schools, attacks at our houses of worship, and attacks 4 years ago at a supermarket in Buffalo on a beautiful Saturday afternoon that stole 10 beautiful souls from us. And while there was just a scintilla of progress made because of the wonderful and beautiful families of that terrible Tops shooting massacre stepping forward 4 years ago at that time with the families of Uvalde, Texas, and that massacre, and Congress finally moved after 30 years, there's been zero progress made since. The people of this country deserve better, and we're going to give it to them after we regain control of the House of Representatives in November. Democrats are going to make sure that protecting public safety in our streets, in our houses of worship, in our communities across this country is made a top priority.
And then finally, Congressman, any predictions for the jobs report, the May jobs report that we're going to find out about in just about 25 minutes from now? What do you think it's going to show? Well,
it hasn't looked good up to this point. We are seeing our economy sputtering as President Trump continues to put his focus overseas rather than on the American people. He's putting his focus on waging a war of choice. We're seeing the Strait of Hormuz continuing to be closed. We're seeing a war that continues to rage on despite their saying that there is a ceasefire. Bombs continue to drop. Gas prices continue to skyrocket. People continue to pinch pennies just to put food on the table and to pay their bills and take care of their families. So we are seeing a total and complete dismantling of our economy, and quite frankly, I'm not confident whatsoever under this president that we're going to see a turnaround, not only in the jobs report, but the economy. And so we have to do better, and we have to regain our footing as the American people in a bipartisan fashion and drive forward an agenda that works for the American people. And Donald Trump and congressional Republicans refuse to do so. Again, they're putting their head in the sand, and while they say American first, it's turning into American last under congressional Republicans and Donald Trump.
Congressman Tim Kennedy, Democrat from New York. I know you could have headed home yesterday after the announcement that the House wouldn't be in today. My thanks to you, your wife, your family for sticking around for us this morning on the Washington Journal.
My pleasure, John. Thank you.
Back to your phone calls. I should note that